Hey everyone, so you're thinking about tiny homes as investments?
Smart move.
Yeah, especially with, the way things are going in the market these days.
Yeah.
And I've been looking over all the notes that you sent,
Okay.
and let me tell you, this is more than just a trend, right?
Right.
This is like a whole new world opening up in real estate.
Yeah, it really is. It's fascinating to me how tiny homes are kind of like this,
Mm-hmm.
tapping into this bigger picture, like cultural shift. Like
Yeah.
people are really wanting simpler living experiences over stuff,
Yeah.
and then of course everyone's thinking about sustainability these days.
Right, right.
And tiny homes really do hit all of those points.
Yeah, it's not just about living simply, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm looking at some of the numbers here on potential returns,
Oh yeah.
especially when you get creative with how these tiny homes are used.
Absolutely. The investment landscape is incredibly diverse. We're seeing savvy investors achieve incredible returns on vacation rentals, sometimes even exceeding 10–15% annually,
Wow.
which is significantly higher than traditional rental properties in many cases.
So, okay, forget those house flipping shows.
Mhm.
Tiny homes are where it's at.
Yeah,
But it's not like you could just plop one down anywhere
right.
and rake in the cash.
Right. Oh, no. Location is absolutely key.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that the ideal location for a tiny home investment can vary so widely,
Okay.
depending on your market.
Got it.
Think about it. A tiny home nestled in a redwood forest
Right.
is going to attract a very different type of renter than a sleek, modern unit in a bustling city center.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
If you were advising someone on picking that prime location
Okay.
for their tiny home investment, where would you tell them to start?
I always recommend starting with market research.
Okay.
Platforms like Airbnb are goldmines for data. You can look at occupancy rates in different areas, analyze average nightly prices,
Mm.
and most importantly, see what types of tiny homes are already performing well
Okay.
in your target market.
Right.
Are people looking for rustic cabins
Yeah.
or high-tech studios?
Mm.
Understanding these nuances can make or break your investment.
So basically become an Airbnb sleuth
Yes.
before you even think about building.
Exactly.
Okay. Makes sense. What about the legal side of things?
Yes.
I've heard some, horror stories about zoning laws
Oh, yeah.
and building codes crushing people's tiny home dreams.
Navigating local regulations is crucial.
Yeah.
And this is where things can get a little bit tricky.
All right.
Some cities are embracing tiny homes,
Really?
streamlining that permitting process,
Wow.
even creating dedicated tiny home communities.
Okay.
But other areas have very strict restrictions on size, land use,
Right.
and even what constitutes a legal dwelling.
Wow. So how does someone even begin to figure all of that out?
Right.
Is it just calling City Hall and hoping for the best?
There are resources to help you with researching local regulations.
Yeah.
Many cities have websites dedicated to zoning and building codes.
Mm-hmm.
You can also connect with local tiny home builders and advocacy groups.
Okay.
They often have a wealth of knowledge
Right.
about the specific challenges and opportunities in your area.
So it's like building a tiny house requires you to build a tiny network first
Precisely.
of experts.
Tap into those resources.
Okay.
It can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
All right. So we've talked about location. We've talked about this legal maze.
Right.
Let's talk about the actual cost
Yes.
of building these tiny wonders.
Okay.
I'm seeing figures all over the place.
Right.
What's a realistic budget for someone looking to get started?
Well, building costs, much like location, can vary widely.
Okay.
For a basic 200 square foot tiny home on wheels, you're looking at around $30,000.
Okay.
For a simpler design, maybe using some reclaimed materials.
Right.
Now, if you're envisioning a larger foundation-built model with all the bells and whistles,
Yeah.
think high-end appliances, custom cabinetry, luxurious finishes.
Oh, yeah.
It can easily reach $100,000 or more.
Wow. Okay. That is a range.
It is a big range.
So how does someone decide where they fall on that spectrum?
It all comes down to, again, your target market
Right.
and your overall investment strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you building a cozy retreat for weekend getaways? Or are you aiming for a luxurious tiny home that caters to a more discerning clientele?
So it's like designing any house, really.
Yeah.
Just
Smaller scale.
on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But you still have all those choices
You do.
about finishes and features.
Right.
Speaking of
Yeah.
features, what about the stuff that makes tiny homes so unique?
Right.
You know, those clever space-saving designs and
Yeah.
all of that?
That's where the fun begins.
Okay.
Tiny home design is all about maximizing every square inch.
Right.
Think transforming furniture,
Okay,
like a Murphy bed
okay, yeah.
that folds up into a wall unit,
Okay.
or a staircase with built-in drawers.
Oh, wow.
So you're not wasting any space.
Yeah. I always wondered about those lofted sleeping areas
Yeah.
with the tiny windows.
Yes.
Are those actually comfortable?
They can be.
Really?
Imagine waking up to a view of the stars
Okay, yeah.
or the sunrise
Oh, yeah.
through those tiny windows. And often, those lofts are designed with clever ventilation systems
Oh, okay.
to keep the temperature comfortable.
Okay, so it's not just like stuffy up there.
No.
Okay. I'm starting to see the appeal.
Yeah,
It's like living in a treehouse, but with style.
exactly.
And of course, we can't forget about the whole sustainability aspect,
Yes,
which is a huge draw for people these days.
absolutely.
So how are tiny homes incorporating all of those eco-friendly features?
Well, sustainability is woven into the very fabric of the tiny house movement. We're seeing more and more tiny homes equipped with solar panels to generate their own electricity.
Oh, wow.
Some even have rainwater collection systems
Okay.
for irrigation or gray water recycling systems for flushing toilets.
Gray water recycling, that sounds pretty high tech.
It is.
So it's not just about living small, it's about living smart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these eco-friendly features not only reduce your environmental impact, but they also lower your operating costs in the long run.
Oh, nice. Win-win.
Win-win.
Okay, so we've talked about location, regulations, costs,
Uh-huh.
even a bit of the design.
Yeah.
But what about the practicalities of setting up a tiny home property?
Right.
Especially if someone's thinking about, creating a little community.
That's a great question. And that's kind of where the rubber meets the road
All right,
in terms of actually bringing this vision to life.
let's dive into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've laid all the groundwork, talking about costs and location and regulations.
Right.
But let's say you've got that perfect tiny home built in the ideal spot.
Okay.
How do you actually get people in the door?
Right.
I imagine marketing a tiny home is a whole different game than just your average rental property.
Yeah, you're right. It does require a different approach.
Okay.
But the good news is tiny homes practically market themselves.
Oh, really? Yeah.
They're so visually stunning.
Right.
They offer such a unique experience,
Yeah.
and they tack into that desire for simplicity and sustainability that so many people are craving.
So it's like Instagram catnip, basically.
Very much.
Just snap a few cute pictures of that little house, and the bookings will start rolling in.
It can be that easy sometimes, but
Amen.
a smart marketing strategy will help you stand out from the crowd.
All right, so what would that look like?
Okay, well, listing on platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo is a no-brainer,
Mm-hmm.
but don't limit yourself to just those.
Right.
There are tons of websites
Okay.
dedicated specifically to tiny home rentals and eco-friendly accommodations.
Oh, okay.
Think about who your ideal renter is
Right.
and where they're likely to be searching.
So it's about being strategic
Yes.
with those listings. Don't just cast a wide net.
Right.
Really target the right pawns, so to speak.
Exactly.
What about going old school?
Okay.
Do you think traditional marketing still work for something like tiny homes?
Absolutely. Direct marketing can be surprisingly effective.
Okay.
Think about partnering with local businesses that cater to your target audience.
Right.
So, for example, if you're near a national park, maybe team up with a hiking tour company
Okay. Yeah.
or a local outfitter.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a bustling city, connect with co-working spaces or event venues that might be looking for unique off-site options.
So it's about creating those win-win collaborations.
Yes.
I like that. And of course, you can't talk about marketing these days without mentioning social media.
Of course not.
Right.
Social media is a gold mine for tiny homes. Visual platforms like Instagram and Pinterest are perfect for showcasing those beautiful interiors and those stunning locations.
Right.
Create a hashtag, run contests, engage with your followers. It's all about building a community around your tiny home brand.
Building a community. I like that. Okay, so marketing's going strong.
Uh-huh.
The bookings are coming in.
Yeah,
Now you have to manage this tiny empire you've created.
right.
Is it a full-time job?
Well,
Could you handle it all yourself?
managing a tiny home rental, especially if it's a vacation rental,
Right.
does require a bit more hands-on attention compared to, say, traditional properties.
Okay.
You're dealing with shorter stays,
Right.
potentially more frequent cleanings,
Mhm.
and the need to make sure everything is in tip-top shape
Yeah.
for each new guest.
So it's like running a boutique hotel,
Yeah,
but on a smaller scale.
I love that. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a great way to put it. And if you are managing multiple units,
Right.
it can definitely become a full-time endeavor.
Yeah, for sure.
That's where property management services come in.
Okay.
They can handle everything from bookings and communication to cleaning and maintenance, freeing you up to focus on the bigger picture.
So if someone is not exactly the hands-on type,
Right.
maybe partnering with a property manager from the get-go is a good idea?
It can be a great way to streamline operations,
Yes.
especially as you scale up.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you are handling everything yourself,
Okay.
there are tools and technologies that can make your life so much easier.
Oh, really? Like what?
So think about smart home automation systems
Okay.
that allow you to control things like temperature and
Uh-huh.
lighting remotely,
Mm.
or online booking platforms that kind of automate communication with guests.
So even though the houses are tiny,
Right.
the tech behind them can be pretty sophisticated.
It can be, yeah.
Okay. Speaking of scaling up,
Yeah.
let's say you've got 1 or 2 tiny homes and they're bringing in a steady stream of income. What are the options for growing that investment?
Well, if you own the land
Right.
and local regulations permit,
Mm.
adding more units to your existing property is a natural next step.
Okay.
You've already kind of navigated the permitting process,
Right.
established the infrastructure,
Yeah.
and hopefully built a positive reputation in the community.
But what if you're limited
Right.
by space or by zoning restrictions?
That's when you start thinking about expanding to new locations.
Okay.
Maybe there's an adjacent property that would be perfect for a tiny home village.
Okay.
Or perhaps there's another town nearby with high demand and a more favorable regulatory environment. So you can replicate your successful model
Okay.
and diversify your portfolio at the same time.
So essentially it's like you're franchising your tiny home concept.
Exactly. You take what you've learned,
Right.
the systems you've developed,
Yeah.
and the brand you've created, and apply it to new markets.
That makes a lot of sense. But before anyone gets too carried away with these visions of tiny home empires,
Right.
we have to talk about the flip side.
Yeah.
Every investment has risks,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
What are some potential downsides to consider with tiny homes?
You're absolutely right. No investment is without risk.
Right.
With tiny homes, one of the biggest factors to consider is the economy.
Why?
Tiny homes, especially vacation rentals,
Yeah.
often fall into the category of discretionary spending.
So if the economy takes a dip, people are less likely to splurge
Right.
on that weekend getaway in a tiny home.
Exactly. Economic downturns can really impact demand,
Okay.
leading to lower occupancy rates and reduced rental income.
Right.
So it's crucial to have a financial cushion
Yeah.
and a solid plan for kind of weathering those storms. Another risk to consider is market saturation.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about that. Tiny homes are so trendy right now.
They are.
What happens when every scenic spot is overrun with them?
Competition is definitely something to watch out for. Yeah.
Thorough market research is essential.
Okay.
You need to understand the existing supply of accommodations in your target area
Right.
and assess the potential for future growth.
Mm-hmm.
If a market is already saturated, it might be time to look elsewhere.
Just like any business, really.
It is.
You have to be strategic,
Yes.
adaptable, and maybe even a little bit lucky.
Exactly. But even with these inherent risks, tiny homes offer such a unique and potentially lucrative investment opportunity.
Right.
It's about being smart, doing your research,
Yeah.
and most importantly, being passionate about this innovative way of living.
All right. I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
But before we get too carried away with these dreams of tiny homes and big returns,
Right.
let's wrap things up with some final thoughts and key takeaways for our listener.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we've really gone deep on this world of tiny homes as investments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've explored all the potential, the challenges, the strategies for success. For someone out there listening who's seriously considering taking the plunge,
Okay.
what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
I would say it all comes down to two things:
Okay.
passion and preparedness.
Right.
Passion.
Yeah.
Because this isn't just your average real estate investment.
Right?
It's about embracing a lifestyle,
Yeah.
a movement,
Mm-hmm.
a whole different way of thinking about housing.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
passion
Yeah.
will really fuel you through the inevitable challenges
Mhm.
and keep you focused on those goals.
I love that. It's not just about making money.
Right.
It's about creating something you believe in.
Exactly.
Something that aligns with your values.
Yes, and then there's preparedness.
Okay.
You need to go into this with your eyes wide open, armed with as much knowledge as possible.
Right.
Research the market.
Yeah.
Understand the financial implications. Really delve into those local regulations. Talk to people who are already in the tiny home space.
Right.
The more prepared you are,
Yeah.
the smoother your journey will be.
Okay. So find that sweet spot
Yes.
where your passion meets your preparedness, and then go for it.
Absolutely. That's the recipe for success.
Okay.
And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to this.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's about finding the path that really resonates with your individual goals and circumstances.
And we've talked about so many different angles,
I have.
from vacation rentals
Uh-huh.
to long-term rentals
Right.
to mobile units and even those awesome backyard offices.
Yeah.
It's amazing how versatile tiny homes can be.
Yeah, that versatility is a huge part of their appeal, both for people looking for alternative living spaces and for investors
Yeah.
seeking unique opportunities. And as the movement continues to evolve,
Yeah.
we're probably going to see even more creative applications emerge.
That's so exciting.
It is.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
No.
I want to leave everyone listening with a final thought.
Right.
We've covered a lot of information today,
We have.
but this is just the beginning of your journey.
It is.
Take some time to reflect on everything we talked about today.
Yeah.
What type of tiny home investment speaks to you the most?
Right. What are your goals?
Yeah. What kind of impact do you want to create?
Those are powerful questions to consider
Yeah.
because ultimately the most successful tiny home investors are the ones who are driven by a vision,
Right.
a purpose that goes beyond just the bottom line.
Well said. And on that note,
Okay.
we'll leave you to continue your tiny home exploration.
Yes,
This is a space where innovation meets sustainability,
it is.
and the possibilities are truly limitless.
Happy investing. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be featuring your tiny home haven
Yeah.
on a future episode of The Deep Dive.
That's awesome.